We have a 1998 Jeep Grand Cherokee, and what we're going to do today is replace the radiator. What we got is a new style clamp here. This is supposed to be a better clamp. It's definitely more expensive. We've got our tightening mechanism over here, and because of that, I don't think that it's actually clamping all the way around the circumference of the hose. I've found times before that these clamps don't seal very well. You might have a weep, a very small leak, something like that. So then you're inclined to tighten them more. And then when you do that, I think that it causes too much pressure. And then in this case here, this being plastic, that's likely what happened. Have a lot of pressure on here. Maybe with the heating, cooling cycles, it fatigued this plastic and caused it to crack. This is just an assumption, but I'm gonna get rid of that clamp. And I'm gonna go back to the old style gear clamp, which has never really let me down. The first thing we wanna do is remove the grill in the vehicle. There's gonna be two fasteners up top. There's gonna be a screw here and a screw here. And there's also gonna be a fastener in the top corner here, and again in the top corner over there. Once you've removed those four, 1, 2, 3, and 4, then you should just be able to pull that out of place. You're gonna come in here, you're just gonna pull this forward. This lip here might be contacting up here, so you might have to play with that a little bit just to get that out of there. And then there's a set of fingers on the bottom that get engaged. Slowly and gently pry that out of place and it should come easy. Now you can see where those fingers go on the bottom. Should be 4 of those. They'll go in those little holes down there, and that's what supports that. In my case, I have this skid plate to remove in the front here. And my fasteners are a 9/16. The factory ones might be a 15mm, I'm not sure. Not all vehicles will have this skid plate. Some of them don't, some of them do. You're gonna need to remove that so that you can access the petcock at the bottom of the radiator. And then you wanna open that up, and then you wanna drain the antifreeze into a container. And in our case, we don't have very much left. It's pretty much all leaked out when the top of the radiator cracked. Another thing you can do is remove your rad cap. So you vent that to atmosphere. That's going to help drain into the bucket all the antifreeze in the radiator. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this rubber strip here. Get a tool, we're going to pry those little keepers off, and then we want to remove this top piece here. After removing that top rubber, that's going to expose the bolts we need to remove this top bracket that supports the radiator here. We have 2 nuts that are going to hold the radiator itself to this framework. You got one there and one there. Now in my case, that ended up being a 1/2 inch. And then we have a series of bolts that are holding this top plate here to the frame itself. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. In my case, those are gonna be a 7/16. The factory size is likely 10mm. Now we've got a few more in the front here. We have 2 nuts that are gonna hold our striker to the framework here. There's one there, and there's gonna be another one there underneath that cable. Again, in my case, that's gonna be a 7/16. And then finally, what we're gonna have is this support bracket in here. So we've got one there. Here's our access hole. And we've got another one there. Now, once we remove those, we're gonna have 4 in the front. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 6 along the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Once we removed all those, now we should be able to get that pulled out of there. Here's that top support pulled out, and then we just wanna remove our striker and then set it off to the side. Here's that striker portion there. Just remove that, and I'm just gonna set it off to the side right there. And there's that top support removed. And now we can see our radiator right here. We've got a few things to remove on top of the radiator. These are just some isolators that go on there. You could glue those on. They're gonna try and keep this thing from rattling, keep it secure with the top framework there. But we have these that have to be removed from the top, and they'll be put on the new one. So that's just gonna be an 8mm for these nuts. There's gonna be 2 on either side, and then another 2 for this side here. So we'll remove these components from the top, and also too, we can disconnect our clamp from here. Now in my case, that's gonna be like a 13mm to remove that. We've removed the isolators on the top of the radiator. Those were the 2 pieces that went there, and again with those rubbers in the corners. Now we look inside here. We've removed that bottom rad hose. Again, in my case, that clamp that I used was going to be like a 12 or 13mm. After that, we've got 2 connections for our transmission cooler lines. We've got one here and then one down there. I'm just going to use a crescent wrench to break those free. And then up front here, we've got a fastener here, and we have a fastener there. And that's gonna be this bracket here that bolts to the radiator. Now that we've freed everything up, we should be able to pull the radiator out. The only thing left to do is this hose right here, and that hose should go to our overflow jug over there. Here's the radiator removed out of the vehicle. When we take a look right there, we can see that the obvious failure was this deep crack that started over here and goes down to that ear right there that fastens it into the body. In my experience, I've replaced about 3 or 4 of these radiators in the past probably 6 years on some of our vehicles. And the reason is that these fingers that are crimped on there to hold that tank on the side, on either side, those plastic tanks, those fingers are clamped and hold that in there. Well, I find that those are becoming failure points. After experiencing that a few times, what I've done is I've ordered this radiator off Amazon. I looked at the reviews, and everyone said that the radiator itself was good, but they had troubles with the installation because the 2 pegs in the bottom there are in the wrong spot. I measured that. Now in my case, we're talking about the difference of 1/8 of an inch. Now when you look at the bottom there, you see that hole is slotted, and that should easily compensate for that 1/8 of an inch out that it is. So you've got one hole there, and you have one hole over on the other side. Those are going to be your locating holes that hold it in the bottom. Up top, here's our 2 fasteners. Here you've got one there, and you've got the other one right there. And that's what these 2 ears are here. You've got one there and one on this side. Now what I'm going to do is remove those little clips. Those are what our bolts are threading into. So I remove those, and then I'm going to put them on the correct side here. What they've done is they put 2 ears. They've got one there, and they've got one in the back. We're going to want to use the one in the back. I looked it all over. The welds seem to be good. We have the same fasteners here for our tranny cooler. We have a petcock in the bottom. We've already discussed our 2 pins in the bottom there. We have these on top, which is the same as the factory one over here, that are going to have our isolators to bolt it down. And it had already come with its own cap. I'm pretty confident this is going to be a pretty good upgrade compared to the one with the plastic tanks, so that we don't have this failure point right here. We've got that new radiator set in place. Those bottom pins weren't so much as a problem. I just crawled in underneath, lined them up from the bottom, made sure everything went in the way it was supposed to. And then we've got everything all loosely connected here just to make sure that everything's correct. So our bottom hose down there fits on fine. Our 2 lines for our transmission cooler fit on there fine. I've thrown that on there. Top hose is good. We put our clips on there so that we could thread this in place. That lines up just fine as well on this side, the driver's side, and again on the passenger side there. Right now all those connections are loosely put together. You want to do that by hand. You don't want to cross thread anything or force anything. It should all go in easily by hand. We're installing these isolators on top of the radiator, and I just come up with this idea to use this Velcro tape that I have kicking around the shop here. So what happened when we were taking it apart, there's another piece of rubber that went in here, but it had fallen in between these 2. That's why I didn't notice it before. So what we want to do is hold that in place while we assemble everything. And instead of using glue or trying to find silicone or something like that, I got this Velcro, so I figured I'd use it. Got a strip on the top here, and then a strip on the rubber, and then that's just going to hold this all in place while we assemble everything. I don't know if it's going to last, because when this radiator heats up, it might deteriorate that glue, and it might not hold, but it'll hold it in place for our assembly. Here's our 3 rubber pieces in place, and now we can put that top plate back on. We've got that top plate assembled there. We want to put everything in by hand, make sure everything lines up. Thread all the fasteners in by hand, and then once it's all good, tighten it down. You might want to leave the grill out just in case you have to adjust this front striker here. So you close the hood, make sure everything's lined up, adjusted. Once that's done, then you can finish assemble the grill there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to close the hood and then make sure that once it's closed and fastened, on the edges here, this corner here and this corner here are going to line up just nice. And I'm just going to adjust that with the grill out. You could access those 2 holes down there, and you can loosen and tighten those as you need to. And then open it up from the inside, open the hood, close it, and just keep adjusting it until you're satisfied that it's lined up properly. So I have this custom bumper that I've built, so it's made it a little bit tight. In my case, I'm gonna have to work with it a little bit and make sure that I slowly push it into place over here. It's a little tight spot. You line up the 4 fingers in the bottom and then kind of rotate it and fit it into place. Those are gonna be my 4 fingers down there, all the way along. And then I'll just slowly line those up and push this into place like so. And I'm gonna be working on this top edge here to make that fit in there. Originally, this vehicle didn't have a fan shroud, but I found one off another Jeep, and then what I've done is I kind of modified it a little bit. There's going to be a piece that's removable in the bottom here. You'd remove that piece, and then ideally, you're supposed to be able to pull the fan shroud straight up and out of the vehicle. But there's very limited room between the front of the fan and the radiator. Now, I don't want to have to remove the fan to remove the fan shroud. I want the shroud to come out on its own easily between the fan and the radiator. I removed a little more material on the bottom there, so I shrunk that down, and that's going to be the space in between the fan and the radiator. And then I removed some more material on the sides here to help get that out. Now you're going to have to rotate the fan as you install and remove this thing to make it easier, but hopefully with these modifications it will come out really easy. The next thing I did was I drilled these holes in here, one there and one over here, because this new radiator doesn't have the fingers that this is supposed to slide into and hold on the bottom. The old radiator didn't have the fingers either. There's these little tabs that will go in there, and then it'll hold the fan shroud in place. Hopefully you can see there as I line up the fan shroud on the old radiator, there would be like some kind of finger, a little catch there to catch and hold that on the bottom. Well, we don't have that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use a zip tie, and I'm just gonna zip tie it from there to there on the new radiator. Here's the fan shroud as we try to slide that in between the fan and the radiator. What I had to do is I had to make sure that this mechanism is on this side of the hose, so we've got as much room as possible over here, because this is gonna come tight into here. Over here we've removed the cap over there, and that's just gonna give us a little more room on this side as well. Now down in here we're gonna want to push that in between the fan and the radiator without trying to damage the radiator. And then you can see over here where we've got some space from our fan and our opening. And then over here, you see where it's contacting there? You might need to rotate the fan blades a little bit to get that past until it's in the bottom there. Got the fan shroud installed. Admittedly, we had to remove a little material here and there to make it fit. The biggest thing was we had to slot these holes a little wider to move it side to side, and then also to get our nuts to fit on there. So we had to slot this hole and that hole there. And then we just did a little bit of trimming here and there to make it fit. And then we got our zip ties on the bottom holding it together. Everything's secure, everything's tight. Now all we need to do is put our antifreeze in, make sure our petcock is closed on the bottom there, fill it with antifreeze, and then when we start it, we want to leave that cap off for a little while, let the air bubble out of there, try and get as much air out of the system as possible. We got the Jeep running here, we're putting antifreeze in there, we want to bubble out that air and everything, but we've got a problem because we've started to put too much antifreeze in. I've put about 4 jugs in now, and that's getting to be too much. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull that dipstick, and then we're gonna show you that we obviously got antifreeze that's going into the oil here. As we can see here, the oil is just continuing to go up the dipstick. So somehow we have antifreeze getting into the oil.